Hello and welcome to the agenda. The big story, of course, is unfolding in Cape Town, where Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana is set to deliver the 2025 medium-term budget policy statement today. This mini-budget, as it's sometimes called, comes as South Africans grapple with a weak economy, rising living costs and growing pressure on government to balance spending and the need to support struggling households. We've got a full SABC News team watching developments for you. Let's bring in our economics anchor, Nompumelelo Siziba, who's live to us in Parliament. In the lead up to 2 o'clock, Nompu, that's when we're expecting the Finance Minister to table this mini-budget. And it's all about balancing the country's spending priorities amid limited resources because of stagnant economic growth.
Absolutely, Ayanda, you've hit the nail right on the head. It is that continued challenge that the Finance Minister has. So he's going to be giving us a sense of what is expected by National Treasury and the government over the medium term. And he's going to give us a sense of the fiscal framework that we're going to see coming out in the 2026 budget that will be delivered, hopefully, in February. I say that, of course, tongue-in-cheek, given the kind of year that we've had in terms of the postponement of the delivery of the February budget this year after, the hoo-ha about the proposal of those 2 percentage point increases in VAT, which were then withdrawn by National Treasury. And of course, we know that that budget was adopted in May without that VAT increase. So it's going to be very interesting to see what National Treasury has to say through the Finance Minister. He did indicate in May that they would be looking to raise 20 billion rand in the February 2026 budget. So we wait and see whether that's going to happen. But that is subject as well to how SARS performs in terms of it being able to extract debt already owed to it. So without any further ado, let me get into it now with my guest, Zora de Villiers. She's a tax partner at KPMG. Thank you so much, Zora, for joining us. So we know that there's a lot that the Finance Minister has to juggle, but what are we anticipating just in terms of their revenue expectations and expenditure going forward?
Good morning, and you've actually in your introduction hit the nail on the head. We've seen some positive trends in terms of the revenue collections. SARS has managed to collect 47 billion rand in overdue taxes from taxpayers. Almost half, 49% of that related to VAT. And you can see that the SARS's focus on tax compliance and the use of technology are really starting to pay off. In addition to that, the figures released by National Treasury indicates that tax collections were higher this year than the same period last year, and that if you look at value-added tax, personal income tax and corporate income tax, that makes up 80% of our tax revenues, all shows growth over the prior year. So if we look at personal income tax, just to add on that, for the past 3 years, we've not seen an adjustment to the tax brackets for inflation, and although that will bring into the coffers 19.5 billion rand. It is detrimental to the taxpayers and the consumers, and it puts them in a worse position. So he may give some indication of what will happen in February, and we're hoping there will be some relief in this respect in terms of allowing for some adjustment for inflation on the tax brackets, but also in terms of the medical tax credit, we'd like that to stay, but also there may be some announcement or some consideration on the NHI, but that would need significant funding, and we don't know whether that is still off the table or on the table. And then in terms of getting off the grey listing, obviously we would like to be a destination, investment destination, and then we need to, as a country, focus on our infrastructure, our governance, and just the ease of doing business in South Africa.
Absolutely. No, that's very important indeed. Just in terms of the issues that you were outlining about SARS and how well they're doing in terms of collecting revenue thus far, does that mean that we may potentially not have to incur higher taxes come the February budget?
Okay, if we've learned anything from the past and our experience just a couple of months down the line, in fact, earlier this year, February, and then ending in May when the budget was finally approved, there was a proposal of the VAT increase, but there is just no appetite by consumers for any tax hikes. So we do not expect any tax hikes in next year's budget. And if we look at our taxes, our personal income tax, the maximum tax rate is 45%. It's high. If you compare that to Africa averages as well as global averages, which is in the lower 30s, we are paying more tax. And in terms of the corporate income tax, it's 27%. But obviously, if we're trying to attract foreign investment, then that would need to go down and not up. The only one that was potentially one that could be increased because it's lower compared to the Africa average and the global average is VAT. But obviously, I don't think that will come onto the cards again. So there's just no appetite and no room for tax hikes come in the next budget.
Of course, the real game changer will be economic growth, right? Because we've had very tepid economic growth, sort of around the 1%, sub 1% over the past decade or more. And of course, we've got the structural reforms that are in play, but those take time. How soon before you see us getting some traction in terms of economic growth and therefore job creation, et cetera, et cetera? We saw that unemployment came down a little bit, but of course, we still have a major crisis in terms of youth unemployment.
Yeah, that's correct. The economists will have a better sense of this, but from our point of view, economic growth is key. We would like to see that more jobs are created that will actually expand our tax base. More people can then contribute to the tax coffers, which will less the burden for the rest of the taxpayers. So job creation is key in terms of going forward for South Africa.
All right, Zora, you stay there. We are going to come back to you. That's Zora de Villiers giving us a sense of what she expects from this afternoon's midterm budget.